Hello there, welcome to this Interceptor first impressions video. In this video I'll try to cover the ins and outs of the Interceptor the best that I can based on the 5 or so hours that I've played of it. I'm going to try and cover the skills and the overall gameplay of the Interceptor. Hopefully you get a good feeling for the javelin or whether you're interested in it or not. So let's jump right in. So you've got a few different options here. You've got the assault system, which this is one of your skills. This will be bound to Q for me. I'm not sure if that's the default key binding, but this is your left skill. So far, I've unlocked these three. I've got the Spark Dash. This reads Interceptor gathers strength and charges target, damaging everything on path. Aura combo. So when it says aura combo, this is a detonator. There are two types of things in this game. There are primers and there are detonators. So this would be a detonator. This means that when you combo, so if someone puts a primer on an enemy, that means, say for example, ice, that would mean the enemy would turn to ice and be frozen. If you use this skill, the Spark Dash, when they are frozen, it will combo and it will give you an aura of ice. If they're using a, say for example, they're using a lightning primer, then it would be a lightning aura. But all you need to really know is this is a detonator and this will proc a combo with a primer. The glaive, the cryoglaive, is a primer. Now you can see that it's a primer because where it says cryo on the left of it, you'll see a symbol and it looks like a circle with a flame inside of it or such. That will be a primer. So if you use that, you can't use both of these skills at the same time because they're in the same slot. But for the sake of example, this is a primer, so this would make the enemy turn to ice because it does ice. This one, Spark Dash, if you use this straight afterwards, it would create an ice aura on you because it would proc the combo. So yes, that covers primers and detonators, so if I tell you it's a primer or a detonator, you'll know. So the cryoglaive, it reads locks onto a maximum of targets, then throws a freezing device. Now this wording is slightly confusing for me because it says locks onto a maximum of targets. Well, from my experience, the maximum of targets is 1. I've tried to test it and I can't get more than 1 hit at the same time, so I guess it might be, it's either not working, I don't fully understand it, or it's just badly worded. So if when I showcase this and you think, but it says maximum of targets, it could hit more than 1. I tried it, I couldn't get it to hit more than 1, so that's why when I showcase it, it will only show me hitting 1 enemy. The searching glaive reads thrown gadget seeks and destroys targets. So those are the 3 options for the assault system. The searching glaive is neither a primer nor a detonator. The strike system, this is the other skill you get to use. It's specific skills for specific slots, but you will have 2 skills plus your ultimate ability. The ultimate ability is always the same, but these 2 can be customized based on drops. So you get these as drops. That's why some of them are green, some of them are blue, and some of them are white. These are what I've collected during this demo. So I don't know if this is everything we're going to get on release. It could just be that for the demo they've only shown some skills that are ready to show, because this build is 6 weeks old apparently. So whether we'll get more than this, I don't know, but I'm just going to showcase in this video what we have at the moment. So we've got the Plasma Star, which reads powerfully charged throwing star that melts through armor. Now this one has a, where it says damage, you'll see next to the number, it has an armor piece with a diamond in it. Now this one does a lot more damage against guys with yellow health bars, so armored enemies like the guys with the shields. So this, I find this one really helpful because those enemies with the shields are really tough, and being able to just melt through them with this ability is really handy. So that's just what that means, if you see that next to the damage number. So we've also got Tempest Strike. Powerful close range melee strike that electrically charges the enemy. This is an aura combo, so this is a detonator. We've got Venom Spray. Sprays a powerful cone of acid in front of the Interceptor. This is actually this one is actually a primer, so I'm not sure why this one doesn't say anything about it being a primer. It may just be that there's an inconsistency right now with the fact that it's an older build, but this one is actually a primer. I know this. Detonating strike. This is a primer. So this is charged melee attack that causes the target to explode after 4 seconds, trigger a larger explosion on death. The Wraith Strike projects a ghost of itself that can warp up to 3 targets. And that's all of the strike system skills. So for the support system skills, these are quite interesting. There's the Rally Cry, breaks you and allies free of all status effects. This is quite a nice one because burning is a particularly nasty effect on the Interceptor. Especially since when you're burning, your jetpack will overheat immediately if you try to fly. And that drops your mobility down a ton, and you really don't want that as an Interceptor. So being able to remove that is quite nice. However, this other one is also very nice. Its target beacon locks onto a target, marks them, and makes them take 33% more damage, and it jumps to another target on death. Now for components, these are a bit more generic. So these are sort of upgrades for your javelin. There are some that are specific for each javelin, but some of them are a bit more generic. So for example, this one enhances the assault system to do 10% more damage. This would be assault skills. So if we look back here, these skills specifically, like these. So yeah, you can kind of tailor your javelin with the components. You can get more shield, you can get more health, you can get more damage. One that I like for the Interceptor is enhances Interceptor melee strikes, doing 10% more of the base damage. That's quite nice because Interceptor, you are going to be using your melee a lot. At least I feel like you should, based on my experiences. So I tend to take this just for that extra damage, but it's personal preference, and I don't think I'll go through this in any more depth than that. As for weapons, with the Interceptor I like shotguns and heavy pistols. There are other options like snipers, light machine guns, assault rifles, personal preference and all that. I like the shotgun because you're close up anyway, so if you back off just a few steps just to let your shield recharge if you're not in melee range, I like the shotgun personally. Personal preference though. So yeah, now I'll jump into showcasing the skills. So the Cryo Grenades, it's a primer, and it freezes enemies when you use it. If you use your melee on it as an Interceptor, you can combo with it, which gives you an aura of ice, which should freeze out enemies that are nearby. One of their grenades is like a shuriken throw, which does quite decent damage and has a short recharge time. I find it's best against armoured enemies. I'd like to mention at this moment that the shurikens that I'm mentioning are the plasma stars, and they have a stack of 4, as you can see down below in the bottom right. And I tend to expend all 4 at once because there's very little reason not to. The cooldown is so short on this skill. There's also a mark you can use on enemies, which will jump between targets when you kill one. It makes them take 33% more damage. As soon as they're killed, it will jump to the nearest target. So if we try to combo this together, we can use the Cryo Grenade against the big guy. He freezes. If we try to combo on him, won't combo. We throw these throwing star shurikens into the back. It does a ton of damage because it has extra damage against armor. Makes it very effective for these shield guys. We try to freeze again. We got the freeze. Missed the combo. But do a ton of damage to the back of him while he's frozen. Makes a nice little combo. Do the same again. This class is a very hit and run class. You don't really want to be in the action for too long, like that. The Interceptor is very melee heavy. You want to get in there quickly, try and pick some enemies off and then get back out as quickly as possible. If the enemies start flying, you just want to run away for a bit, wait for them to get back on the floor. These flying enemies can be extremely annoying for an interceptor. Okay, freeze him when he's down, and just go ham on him. You want to weave in your shuriken throws if you're using them, because they have such a short cooldown, there's no reason not to get that extra damage. Another skill is called Spark Dash. It makes you leap towards the enemies and then do damage when you reach them. I would just like to add at this point that you can see in the bottom right next to the skills, in the top right of the skill icon, you can see that there's an explosion symbol. Now that means it's a detonator, so you can see that both the Spark Dash and the Tempest Strike are both detonators. It's quite nice for a maneuver skill. I felt like the damage was not as high on this skill as other options, but it was definitely a interesting skill, and it does detonate combos if you can hit someone who has a combo effect on them. A primer. Another skill is Tempest Strike, which is a detonator, so if someone uses a primer skill on them, then I can combo with it. Like this. Get another ice aura. If it was a lightning primer, it would be a lightning aura. The Interceptor in general, when you use your combos on them, your detonators, you will get an aura corresponding to the element type that you comboed with. It's a very cool looking skill. It's like a kung fu kick or whatever you want to call it. Does a decent amount of damage. It only procs the cooldown if you actually hit an enemy with it. If you don't hit an enemy, it will let you do it again. So that's quite handy. It does a fair amount of damage. We can use our dash with it. Okay, now we can try to combo if we have time. There we go, we've got an ice aura again. So this is a detonator skill. The skill that my friend used was a primer skill. So let's show this dash again. It comboed, look, because that's also a detonator. So we got the ice aura. The biggest asset a Interceptor has is the maneuverability. It's just so good. Even just jumping is the triple jump. And you can actually use that to reposition if you. So when you do your melee, if you're jumping, you'll do a spinning stomp, and you can knock enemies down with that and do good damage. You should just outright kill the little guys, but it can knock down the big guys. And then you can be jumping, and then you try to do it, and then you miss the attack, and then you can just press jump again to cancel it. So it can be cancelled by any kind of jumping. A venom spray is an AoE area in front of you. It can hit multiple targets. If you hit someone who can survive, not just these grunts, maybe this guy. Hit this guy, it turns into, you see that icon above his head? Now that is this is a primer, which is allow us to combo. This one will give us an acid aura if we can proc it. Now I'd just like to point out at this moment that on the venom spray icon in the top right of it, you can see that there is the flame icon from before that shows that it's a primer. It didn't show this in the character screen, which is called the Forge, but it does show it here. So that seems to be an inconsistency, but you can, if you have a skill that has that icon, that is a primer. Let's try this combo again. Okay, we got the combo. We've got an acid aura, you can see on the left side. That will do a damage over time to nearby enemies, I believe. Another skill we have right now is Searching Glaive. It will automatically track targets and go to them, doing moderate damage. Let's use Rally Cries to get rid of this. Burning. Okay, use Venom to take out two guys at once. When you have this Venom aura, it just gives nearby enemies a damage over time. Nothing too fancy, just extra damage, AoE. So I was thinking, and I realised that there's a high chance that the acid proc is actually good against armoured enemies, like the ones with the yellow bars, for example the shield guys. It would make a lot of sense for the acid to cripple their armour. So I have a suspicion, I can't confirm at this point because of the demo has ended at this point, but there's a good chance the acid proc actually affects enemy armour, and I'm not giving it enough credit in this video, so I just wanted to add that. Now I'm finding Searching Glaive to be a bit of a tricky one to use at the moment. Let's try and do it again. Okay, you see that? It hit that big guy. It did moderate damage. Let's try and use the glaive again. Does a decent amount of damage, but nothing too crazy, to be honest. But this isn't so much about balance right now. This is about just showcasing how the skills work. Starting to feel like the Seeking Glaive is actually pretty good.
What does he do, that one?
Decent damage. It's it kind of bounces into an enemy. If you don't hit them, it kind of bounces towards them because it like finds them. Another skill is called Detonating Strike. This one will prime them for lightning, and then you can combo off them, which will give you electrical charge. Aura, it's good against little guys, like lots of little guys surrounding you. I find personally that the Interceptor does great if you can get primer skills, because your melee procs them anyway, and then you don't really need detonator skills, you just melee. Personally, I think the Frost Aura is the best. Freezing enemies while you're in melee is just too helpful. One thing that's the downside with the Interceptor for me is the squishiness, and trying to reduce that as much as possible is really the best thing you can have. The best thing you can try to do. So this next skill is called Wraith Strike. It fires out a Wraith version of yourself to hit enemies from a distance. This one feels quite lackluster to me. It's got a short cooldown, so that's something, but it's good against taking out a few little ads, but like little guys. It doesn't feel that high damage. If you look at that shield, it did a bit, but it wasn't too crazy. It feels quite lackluster. It doesn't have any bonus effect like comboing. Overall, Wraith Strike just feels like a short-ish cooldown, slight damage skill. Doesn't feel too great. It has AoE, but it's 3 targets, and if you're playing on any high difficulty level, it's not going to feel good. Like if I use it on this tough guy, it tickles him a little bit. Worth taking, but not better than other options in my opinion. So one of the other skills is Rally Cry. It allows you to remove status effects from you and your allies. I'm burning right now. If I use this, it's gone. That could be quite nice because burning is nasty on an Interceptor. You don't have a lot of health. I feel very squishy all of the time. When burning happens, even if I go run and hide, I'm still going to continue burning, and then that takes a hell of a lot of health off of me in hard mode, for example. It has a long cooldown, but can be valuable if you have a fight which is heavy on conditions. Now the super, or the ultimate, I can't remember which one it's called, but it makes you immune to all damage, and you do a ton of damage. every attack you do is a combo detonator. You can't glide, you can't fly, sorry, while you're doing this, but so you have to kind of do jumps and dashes to maneuver. You can still jump and do the spinning blade attack. So when there's a group like that, you kind of want to back out a bit, pick off your targets, choose your targets, pick them off. Be a run and gunner. Basically feels like an assassin style rogue. So the Storm and the Interceptor make a very nice combination because the Storm is all about, well, has a lot of access to primers. Like this. And I can combo with them because I have good detonators. And because I'm in melee so much, I mean, just your normal regular melee attack is a detonator. So if my friend was to freeze this enemy and I was just to do a normal attack, okay, that didn't work that time.
No.
Okay, there you see, you got a combo. Now that gives me the ice aura just for doing a normal attack. So having a storm in the team is very handy. It's a nice little synergy between the two. Whoa.
Yeah. That was a combo. My class is really somehow selfish, but somehow...
What? No. No, you... Like, I think that is the best class to play with an Interceptor. Because you're putting down the ice that allows me to combo constantly. Like, I don't need to set it up, you can do it for me, and then I can just melee and get the combos. It's a huge benefit. I would say actually Storm is the best thing to play with an Interceptor. A Storm is a very nice asset for an Interceptor because not only do you get the combos, but you also have the enemies frozen, and enemies do a lot of damage to the Interceptor. I feel very squishy, and part of the way to counter that is to get out quickly, but if you've got a Storm in your party, they can freeze the enemies and then you're much safer. If they can freeze the big targets that are real threats, you have a much nicer time of trying to survive in that close melee situation. Because as an Interceptor you really want to be in melee often. You've got so much damage in melee. Guns just don't even compare, in my opinion. I mean, shotguns and things like that, they can do really nicely at close range, but I try to combine melee with shotgun because I'm close anyway. So if I have to pull out a bit, I can still, if I'm pushing in, I can take out one and then I can move to the next. Now you can do the slam to hit multiple enemies. It has an AoE to it as well, which is a nice addition. It's good for taking out trash. So the Interceptor flying feels a lot better than the Ranger, which is the starting javelin. Feels a lot better than the Ranger's flying did. It still feels like it was designed for a controller, but it definitely feels better than it did when I was on the Ranger. So since the Interceptor is all about maneuverability, that's quite nice. I think that's by design, that the Ranger javelin is meant to feel a bit more clunky in the sky. It's not as it seems to be a design choice that this one is a lot more maneuverable. Let's see if we can show in a better way. So if I'm just taking a sharp turn here, oops, still a bit tricky, but if you ever kind of veer off, you can kind of cancel it and, like this, and then like pressing space just to cancel it and then turning direction. And going near water will help us cool down. Ooh, okay, it's interesting. We could talk about the swimming. This is something I don't like too much. I had to turn my sensitivity down a lot to get the swimming feeling a bit better here. It still feels a little bit drunk, like my character is a bit drunk, but I put the sensitivity down to about 2%, I believe, and feels a lot better than it did. At 50% it felt far too much. So yeah, it's just very maneuverable, very quick to turn. You can kind of reset yourself, change direction. Just try to go around this tree, showcase sort of quick moving. Oh yeah, still quite clunky, but you know, it's quite good. Flying takes time to get used to, either way, but as an interceptor, just flat out better in my opinion. Storm is different in the sense that that one is the true I can stay in the sky javelin. This one is the I can maneuver very nicely and get in and out of fights very quickly. So it's very rogue feeling in that sense. Very hit and run. So yeah, that's Interceptor flying. In summary, I would call the Interceptor Javelin a high risk, high reward, melee focused, high intensity, rogue style assassin character. If you're interested in any of those things, this would be a good fit for you. I think it fit exactly what I was hoping from the Javelin when I started playing it. It even surprised me in some ways. I think the addition of the combo system makes for quite an interesting gameplay loop with the Interceptor. I think definitely playing around the combos can create some fun. It's not extremely complicated, but it is fun. So I think it straddles the line nicely between having to think about what you're doing, but not being so complicated that the general player couldn't just jump in and have some fun. So that concludes my thoughts and first impressions on the Interceptor Javelin from the Anthem VIP demo. Hope this video has been informative and helpful for you. If you have any constructive criticism or feedback, just let me know in the comments, and I hope you have a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Ooh. He's stuck.
Yeah.
He's also dead.